Hello everyone, my name is Jonathan Ralph. Welcome back to my channel where we talk all things golden visas and second citizenships. We're talking about Portugal today and whether American investors are able to use their retirement funds to access it. And even if they can, is it worth it? Well, if you're new here, I'm a qualified financial planner by trade. My team is now the #1 golden visa agency in Portugal, working today with a 100% track record of success and a 5-star rating on Trustpilot. Before we get stuck in today, I must insist today's video is purely for educational purposes only. It is not tax advice, financial advice, or legal advice of any form. I am asked about this topic rather a lot, so I'm merely here to pass on some information that some of you watching may find helpful. At least that is the objective from this video. So, what do we have in store today? We'll start with a quick recap on what the Portugal Golden Visa is for those who are new to the subject or for those who aren't fully up to date just yet. So, what it is, what the rules are surrounding qualifying investments, and what the rules are when it comes to funding that investment, which is, of course, key background when we start looking at accessing your retirement funds. Next, we'll look at the problem facing US nationals looking to access the Golden Visa. The majority of high net worth investor wealth is actually stuck in retirement accounts when it comes to American nationals. So that means 401ks, IRAs. So how can this capital be accessed and what are the ramifications of doing so? To illustrate this, we'll then go through a case study of a typical American investor looking to obtain the Golden Visa and look at a couple of scenarios and the financial implications of the different courses of action. Once we've understood the problem, we'll then, of course, switch focus and look at the market's proposed solution, which is a method designed to move the funds in your retirement account over to Portugal, tax and penalty free, in order to obtain your Golden Visa in a compliant way. Is that even possible? Well, stay tuned to find out. We'll then finish up with a quick cost-benefit analysis and a quick word on our track record here in Portugal and how to get started with your own Golden Visa journey. A quick intro to the Portugal Golden Visa now, and I'll try to keep this short. I know many of you watching are quite well informed about the Golden Visa at this stage, particularly if you find yourself on this channel. But if you are new to this subject, the Golden Visa was launched in 2012 and has proven extremely popular as it is the most accessible route to a European passport. And remember, a European passport gives you the right to live, work, study, or retire anywhere in Europe, not just Portugal. The Golden Visa is an investment visa wherein you receive a residence permit in Portugal in return for an investment that is usually 500,000 euros into the country. After 5 years from the date of application submission, which is essentially just a little bit longer than 5 years from the date of investment, and by visiting the country for at least 7 days per year, you can then qualify for full citizenship and that second passport, which gives you permanent residence rights across the entirety of the European Union. Golden Visa has attracted more than 10,000 applications since its inception, which is just under 30,000 people. Thousands are issued each year, and the annual case numbers are increasing year over year. And that is a trend that is most likely set to continue given the state of geopolitics in the world today. You can include the whole family on a Golden Visa, but you must have a clean criminal record. And I say whole family. The main exception there are siblings, unless you have a legal guardianship. But in terms of dependent children, dependent parents, no issue there. You must also have a clean criminal record. This is a proven and legally viable pathway to citizenship, even without living in Portugal, as citizenships are now being granted to Golden Visa holders that meet the requirements, even those that have never become a tax resident in Portugal. Now, if you don't know already, you may be interested to know that my team here has managed over 10% of all the Portuguese Golden Visas ever issued. So if you work with us, you're working with a tried, trusted, proven expert and market leader. Quick recap on the rules that are in effect for 2025 then. So real estate does not qualify for the Golden Visa any longer. It used to, but that is no longer the case since October 2023. The capital transfer route has also gone now, which leaves us with fewer remaining viable routes into the Golden Visa. What are they? Well, they are a 500,000 euro investment into a qualifying fund, a 500,000 euro investment into a Portuguese business, a 500,000 euro donation to scientific research activities, a 250,000 euro donation to culture and the arts, or the creation of a business in Portugal that employs at least 10 people. Now, the topic of IRA investments in Portugal is a rather contentious and rather a complicated one too. So all non-fund categories are typically ignored for this. Now, I haven't seen a case where an investor has attempted to access any of the other Golden Visa categories using this approach, at least not yet. It may change in the future, but for this video, we will focus on funds for the purposes of today's presentation. There are a couple of criteria if an investment fund is to qualify for the Golden Visa. Namely, it must not invest in real estate, it must be regulated by the Portuguese Securities Market Commission, that's the CMVM, and at least 60% of any fund's underlying investments must be into Portuguese securities. Not that onerous, pretty simple. Now, this last one isn't a new rule, but it is very relevant to today's topic for reasons that will become clear. To qualify for the Golden Visa, you must either invest as a private individual using your own funds from outside Portugal, or through a company that is 100% owned by you, at least in the eyes of the Portuguese legal system. We'll be coming back to that later. Before we dive a little bit deeper and get started with the nuts and bolts of today's topic, remember, none of this is tax advice. I must be very clear on that point. This is for informational purposes only. All points expressed are my own views and to the best of my own knowledge and ability. Now, if you are a US national watching this video because you have funds saved in various different retirement accounts, you'll likely be aware of the restrictions around your 401k, IRA, and Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is, of course, a little bit different, so we're going to put that to one side for most of this presentation. But to recap, you'll incur a penalty if you access your retirement funds before the age of 59 and a half. Well, technically it isn't a penalty, but it is an additional tax burden to the tune of an extra 10%, which is rather painful, correct, at the time of recording. And at the time of recording, the highest income tax bracket in the US is 37%, which means you could be facing a tax liability, therefore, of up to 47% if you withdraw before the retirement age. Now, most Golden Visa investors, or rather I should say many Golden Visa investors, because that can change rather rapidly, many Golden Visa investors are under the age of 60. Therefore, this becomes very relevant information for them. And a lot of the people that I speak to are investing in the Golden Visa purely to get a European passport so they can ultimately retire to Europe in 5, 10, 15 years' time when they have achieved the citizenship. Which creates a bit of a catch-22. How can I use my funds to get the citizenship and retire if I cannot access the funds before I retire? And ignoring the extra 10% tax penalty, we also need to recognize that we're usually paying a much lower rate of tax if we access our retirement funds after we have stopped working. So it is usually much more tax efficient to delay taking these funds out until we have actually retired. Now, that's generic financial strategizing that tends to hold true pretty much wherever you are in the world, provided there are some kind of retirement or pension schemes in your country of residence. So with that in mind, and considering that the majority of high net worth American wealth is locked away in 401ks or IRAs, at least according to CNBC, this begs the obvious question: how on earth can we access the 500,000 euros that we need for the Golden Visa? Let's look at a case study to illustrate this point and show you why it might be so compelling, or why it might at least appear to be so compelling to use retirement funds inside the 401k or IRA structure if an investor under the age of 59 and a half would like to access a Golden Visa. Well, John here, fictional character, of course, stock photo, but let's say his name is John. He is 55. He earns $250,000 a year, and let's say that he pays tax at a 35% marginal rate. He has an IRA valued at $1.1 million, which we will assume converts to an even 1 million euros. That, of course, will depend entirely on the current rate of exchange. Currency markets rather recently have been a little more volatile than they have been in recent history, but let's assume that $1.1 million is a direct conversion to 1 million euro. Now, John wants the Golden Visa in Portugal so he can get passports for his family and then looking forward, ultimately retire to one of Portugal, Spain, France, or Italy. He isn't quite sure yet, but he knows that he likes Europe and wants to be there. So the Portugal Golden Visa is his best way of doing so in accordance with his timelines for moving. So John looks at his ideal scenario first, where he uses the funds inside his IRA to invest in the Golden Visa. If he does this, he'll have 500,000 euros invested in the Golden Visa, and he'll retain 500,000 euros, or its equivalent in dollars, inside his IRA, which we will assume grows at a constant rate of 6% per year. Investments never perform like that, or very, very rarely, unless you have a full bond portfolio, but let's assume that it's steady growth throughout that time. Now, given that it takes currently around 7 years to get Portuguese citizenship through this process, in 7 years, John will now have his 500,000 euro Golden Visa investment, plus any Golden Visa investment profit he's been able to make there, and his IRA would have grown, using these assumptions, to 752,000 euros. So therefore, the value of John's retirement savings would be 1.25 million euros plus the investment returns from his Golden Visa. Not bad, right? Well, what would happen if John withdrew the cash from his IRA first before then making the investment? Now, because John is 55, he would incur the 10% tax penalty, again, correct at time of recording, on top of the 35% that he already pays, therefore a total of 45% tax. Now, this means that in order to have 500,000 euros to invest in the Golden Visa, he would need to withdraw 909,000 euros from his IRA, again, the equivalent in dollars. The remaining amount would therefore be just 91,000 euros, which we will assume grows at the same 6% per year that we were using before as an assumption. Now, after 7 years, John would now have the same 500,000 euros for the Golden Visa plus his investment profits, but his IRA would now have only grown to 137,000 euros, of course. Much lower capital sum at the outset, therefore growth is nowhere near as powerful even with the same rate of return. This means that by taking the money out of his IRA early, John will have almost cut the value of his total retirement savings in half. This will have a major impact on his potential lifestyle when he does ultimately and eventually make it over to Europe. So, just in case you haven't done the math in your head there, the difference between scenarios 1 and 2 is a whopping 615,000 euros, which works out at just over $660,000. At least at current rate of exchange. So we can clearly see the financial motivation for trying to find a way to use retirement funds to fund a Golden Visa investment. The only question is this even possible? Does this comply within regulations? Trying to answer this. So, based on what we've learned so far, we know that investors under the age of 59.5 may prefer to keep retirement funds inside a retirement account, be that a 401k or IRA, to avoid incurring a hefty tax bill in the US. We also know that we need to either invest personal funds in order to access the Portugal Golden Visa or company funds if the company is 100% owned by the investor. So that means, therefore, that a company structure of some description might offer a solution. Which is why a common structure that has been used by some market providers is the following. An investor would start with their 401k or IRA, roll it into a self-directed 401k or IRA, and this would then allow them to invest how it sees fit. It says self-directed IRA on the screen there. Of course, it could be a self-directed 401k. Now, once they have that self-directed retirement account, they could then invest potentially into a US LLC to be used as an investment vehicle. This investment vehicle could then potentially invest into a Portuguese company that is set up, which can then receive the funds in its corporate bank account, a necessary step for the Golden Visa, and then ultimately make the investment. It would appear possible to replicate this same process with a Roth IRA as well, by going into a self-directed Roth IRA, but because we're dealing with post-tax savings here, the benefits are really very unlikely to be anywhere near as strong if we talk about a Roth account. Of course, It is essential that all of this is done in a manner that is compliant with current legislation. So extreme caution and care must be exercised. And once again, all the information on your screen there is purely for informational purposes only. In any case, please be advised, my team, myself, we do not offer any of these services. Again, purely for educational purposes, this video. This is not tax, legal, financial, or any other type of advice. You should, I strongly recommend that you seek your own advisor that can offer this, and that can ensure you are always acting in full compliance with the law before implementing any such strategy. If you need, we can introduce you to lawyers that have handled such matters in the past on both the US and the Portuguese side, and who may be able to guide you even if we ourselves cannot offer these structures or related services. Okay, a quick cost-benefit analysis then. Is this elaborate structure really worth it? Well, as we saw with John, the potential for huge tax savings means that you may wish to at least analyze how much this structure could improve your retirement prospects. It does have the potential to change your life given the figures that are involved. We are talking potentially about hundreds of thousands of dollars in some scenarios. However, there are, of course, quite a few drawbacks to bear in mind. Some legal work is required in both the US and Portugal, which of course carries some expense, and that expense does turn out to be rather significant. I have seen that it can run in the region of 30 to 40,000 euros when calculated over the lifetime of the investment journey. So be very careful to account for this extra cost. There is also some extra time involved to get the structure correctly set up in a compliant way. And you'll also need separate bank accounts for yourself and for the company, which of course incurs some extra time again and further cost requirement, although this can be fairly minor. There are some potentially rather large compliance risks on the US side. US tax law is a force to be reckoned with, so always double check everything you do to ensure you are fully in line with the law and make sure you are taking advice to that effect. Going alone is a dangerous game. The same applies to the Portuguese side too. Make sure you're protected, make sure that you're compliant with the law, and that your legal partners know what they're doing and have done it before to some success. What's more, your choice of investments can be rather limited if you use these structures. You are essentially limited to investment funds only, as we discussed previously, which means that you are not able to access the entirety of the Golden Visa investment market. This is also a relatively new and unproven route to the Golden Visa, so do be careful again if you go down this route. I know I'm preaching a lot of caution, but it is important when we deal with such topics such as tax. Even if you are tax compliant now, the law can change unexpectedly, and you will need to be aware of that if it does in the future. Okay, summarizing then. Whilst the potential to save large amounts from your tax bill may be tempting, make sure that you understand the risks fully before you proceed with any such investment or structure. Seek advice before committing to this. One of the main reasons that I'm making this video for you today is the amount of information that is out there on this topic online has grown exponentially in recent months, and I can see an awful lot of inaccuracies on there. So I do want to make sure that if you decide to pursue such an approach, you do so with your eyes open and that you understand the risks, because they are significant, as you can see from this screen. Okay, wrapping up today then, quick reminder who we are. So my name is Jonathan Ralph. If you don't know me already, I'm a partner at Hullborn Assets. Hullborn Assets, we're one of the leading expat wealth management firms in the world, going since 1998. We look after more than 20,000 clients across the world, across more than 100 different countries, in fact. And even though the majority of our work is done online these days, we also provide our services out of more than 20 physical offices around the world. We have hundreds of highly qualified wealth management professionals on staff. That includes myself. And we are currently the #1 Golden Visa agent in Portugal based on volume of applications processed. Our team has processed more than 1,000 Golden Visa applications with a 100% success rate that pertains to getting the Golden Visa. And we are rated excellent on Trustpilot, so do feel free to check us out over there. You can also run a dedicated search on my name if you'd like to see and read about some real experiences from some of my clients in person. Now, a little bit more about me. In a nutshell, I'm a partner for the Western Mediterranean region here at Hullborn, which essentially means that I divide my time up between Portugal and Spain. I was named our top residency and citizenship by investment advisor for last year. Very, very proud of that achievement, and it's something that I share with my wonderful team who never appear on this channel, but they are behind the scenes working away. And together, we have helped an awful lot of people to secure Portuguese residency at this point. I like to think that we know what we're doing. My email address is on the screen there if you're interested in working with us, becoming another success story. So that's jonathan.ralph@hullbornassets.com. And you see a QR code there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you scan that QR code, you'll be taken directly to a widget that will allow you to book in a meeting directly with me into my calendar. Now, those meetings are with me. They are completely free as well and purely aimed at giving you the information that you need to make the best decision for you and your family. There are no pressure or obligations involved with such a meeting. As again, just like with this video, which aims to provide relevant information, those meetings are purely there as a formative exercise, informational and guidance. So feel free to book in some time if you'd like us to meet. It would be my absolute pleasure to help you in any way that I can. However, if you're not quite ready to book in a call just yet, you might want to check out this video next. And, well, that is a rather large picture of my head there on the screen. Well, anyway, in that video, I will cover the key updates that you need to know surrounding the Portugal Golden Visa right here in 2025. Essential background viewing before you get started with any journey. Now, as today's video is focused purely on the retirement fund topic, I would suggest that you complete your knowledge base by taking a look at this whenever you can. You can also click the link in the top right-hand corner of your screen to be taken there directly. I will also pop a link to that video in the description box down below my head. Standard operating practice for this channel. And that is all for me. That's all from me for today. So I hope this has helped to show you the different options that may exist when it comes to retirement funds and how to access the Golden Visa in a compliant way. And then ultimately get a European passport from Portugal. Now, I've left my contact information up there on the screen if you need it. So jonathan.ralph@hullbornassets.com. Also, that very same QR code for booking in a meeting. Remember, that booking link is also available once again in the description box down below my head. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch today's video and to spend a little bit of time here with me. Do not forget to like and subscribe to stay connected and first in the queue for all future updates on all things second citizenship and golden visas. I wish you a wonderful day ahead wherever you are in the world. Take care. Bye for now and see you again very soon.